This episode will be dedicated to the latest release from the artist known as Violet Grohl and her latest single called 595. If you want to hear more, please stick around. This is all gas, no trash. My name is Adam, and welcome back to the program, and welcome to a brand new episode. I feel like the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland when he's always in panic mode. He's like, oh my God, I'm late. I feel very much the same way because of the fact that 595 was released last Wednesday, and I had no clue that it came out last week. So now I am following up on that and talking about it on this episode. But yeah, I thought it's okay. It's fortunate enough that we had this happen the way it did because there were some interesting things that popped up. Like I found out Pixel Grip had a remix that they did of a song from Tron Ares. The soundtrack, so there was that, and then there was also Hot and Freddy's debut album. So I'm kind of glad I'm just giving this its own day of release so that, it's just the only thing that people will concentrate on as opposed to the other two episodes. So, anyways, let's go ahead and get started with this episode. We're going to go ahead and call this segment News and Info in relation to Violet Grohl herself. So, I'm sure Violet Grohl announced on her social media that she was releasing a debut album, but here we have on Loudwire the announcement of the debut album, which is coming out May 29th under Aurora and Republic Records, which is under the dominion of Universal Music Group. As far as what I could find about the song, Violet Grohl makes a comment about how the song was inspired by a t-shirt, which was like an advertisement for a phone sex line. And there's even a line that says, "I'll be your 1-900 G-spot, baby. 595, I'm on the line, you won't last." I don't know why, but that's kind of funny. But the name of the album, of course, is called Be Sweet to Me. And it looks like, let me see, there's a track list, if I'm not mistaken. So it's an 11-track album. So I'll go ahead and list off the tracks. So we have Thumb, which is the opening of the album, which was a fucking banger. We have 595 to follow afterwards. Bug in a Cake, Last Day I Loved You, Big Memory, Mobile Stars, Often Others, Applefish, which was also another single, Cool Buzz, Pool of My Dream, and Plastic Couch, and No Sign of What's Heaven Without You, which was, I guess, a benefit song, a song that was used to generate money for the LA fires, in addition to also being an homage to David Lynch, the filmmaker who also passed away. So, there's quite a bit of info to be shared as far as that goes, but let's go ahead and start a new segment because I do want to talk about the background or some of the interesting figures that worked on this specific track. Holy crap, I drank way too many sodas. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the next segment about the people behind the music. All right, so the way that this is going to work is I'm going to go through the entire credits list for the song 595. And then afterwards, I'm going to concentrate specifically on the people that had information about them that I could find online or through their social media accounts. Because there are a few people that I can't find info about, but I'll do my best. And anyways, we'll go ahead and get to the credits list. So as far as the artist who is performing, that's Violet Grohl herself. Composition and lyrics is quite a lengthy list. We have Violet Grohl, composer and lyricist. So this is the same for everybody that's in the composition and lyrics section. So it's Violet Grohl, Justin Risen, Brad Lockhart, Joe Kennedy, Julio Tavares, and Joseph Zizzo. Production and engineering by Violet Grohl, executive producer, Justin Risen, executive producer and producer, Anthony Paul Lopez, producer, engineer, and mixing engineer, Brad Lockhart, engineer, Angel Emmy, or I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's either that or it's Angel Emmy, possibly German, not entirely sure. We have Mike Bozzi, or Bozy, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. As far as performers go, we also have Violet Grohl, Justin Risen on guitar, and then Anthony Paul Lopez on drum kit and guitar, Joe Kennedy on guitar, synth bass, and then we also have Julio Tavares, who is also doing bass and guitar. And this is released under Universal Records. And there we have it. Now let's get to some of the individual figures that we just mentioned. What's interesting is as I made my way through finding info about each person involved in this specific song, I came to realize that a number of them had worked on the solo album of Kim Gordon, The Collective, which many of you know was nominated for 2 Grammys, one being Best Alternative Music Album and also Best Alternative Music Performance. But let's go ahead and start with Angel Emmy, who is somebody that does signal processing. I'm not sure what that means exactly, but also plays bass and guitar and also writes, is a songwriter as well. But some of her credits include working on Applefish, which was one of the singles that was released along with Thumb. And then we have Bye Bye from Kim Gordon, Say Something from Lil Yachty, Fleas from Yeah Yeah Yeahs, Chest from 5 Seconds of Summer, Baby from Charlie XCX. I mean, there's just so many songs that she's worked on. But we also have Kerosene from Eve's Tumor and Feels All Right from Spoon. So those are just some of the songs that she's worked on in terms of her credits. Next up, we have Brad Lockard, who is credited with composing, lyrics, and also engineering for 595, the song itself. But when you go on his website, he also is capable of mixing, recording, and vocal production, and has credits for Billie Eilish, Hit Me Hard and Soft, FK Twigs with her latest album, You Sexwa. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And we also have Phineas for Crying Out Loud. And then there was SZA for her deluxe version of SZA SOX Deluxe Lana. And there was also Omar Apollo's album. Yeah, Omar Apollo, God Said No, Lil Nas X, Days Before, Dream Boy. So this guy has just worked all over the place. Oh, we also have Camila Cabello. So these are people that have some really amazing credits. And let's go ahead and get to the next person. Justin Risen is something of a generalist where he is skilled in producing, songwriting, also being a multi-instrumentalist and a mixing engineer, and has credits with Charlie XCX and Sky Ferreira, in addition to Kim Gordon with her album called The Collective. So just another person that was part of the Kim Gordon camp, working alongside Violet Grohl. But as far as 595 goes, as I previously stated, he's working as a composer, lyricist, producer, and executive producer. Also performs on the song itself as a guitar player. So there's that. Now we have let's go with Julio Tavares next. This guy is also pretty interesting, as from what I can see on his social media account, where he is a songwriter for Universal Music Publishing Group. So I don't know exactly how publishing groups work. So does somebody come along that's a songwriter, and let's say Violet Grohl is part of Republic Records, and then Universal's like, hey, why don't we have this guy over here, Julio Tavares? Let's throw him in the mix and see if he can help out Violet Grohl make some really great songs. And that's more or less the extent of what happens. I'm kind of curious about that. Anyways, we also have him as a bass player for Bob Moses, in addition to having his own project called Work, that I imagine is something like a passion project, while he's also songwriting for other people. While we're on the subject of talking about bass, he's also credited for playing bass and guitar on the song itself, referring to 595, in addition to also composing and writing lyrics for this song. So let's go ahead and get to probably like the last person we'll talk about before we get to the song itself, because I couldn't find info on anybody else, but Anthony Paul Lopez was somebody that I found on Remo's website, and I'll just go ahead and read some of the bio that he has as far as like the stuff that's included on the Remo website, which is a brand for drum kits, if I'm not mistaken. So he must be like one of those people that they do partnerships with, because he's probably really talented and stuff. So let's just read some of the things that I can find. So since relocating to Los Angeles, Joe played drums with Sky Ferreira. Oh, that's interesting. So we have Justin Risen, who had worked previously with Sky Ferreira, and also Anthony Paul Lopez, who drummed for Sky Ferreira, so there's the connection there. So let me just read that from the beginning. Since relocating to Los Angeles, Joe played drums with Sky Ferreira's upon the release of her debut album, Nighttime, My Time, performing across 6 continents, the Primavera Sound and Pitchfork Music Festival, appearing on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel Live, and Late Night with David Letterman, and supporting Vampire Weekend, Miley Cyrus in 2014. This was followed by drumming for Hot Natured in support of their critically acclaimed debut album, performing to audiences of over 20,000 at the CRSSD Music Festival and the Coachella Music Festival in 2015. Joe in 2016 has begun accompanying Annabelle Jones during the releases of her debut EP, La Belle, and is currently working on an upcoming solo record. In addition, he is quite fond of Melmac's finest export, Alf, Alf, the little alien puppet. That's kind of funny, and believes that the original Point Break deserves a place in the pantheon of great cinema. Now that I heard that line about Point Break, I think of Keanu Reeves in that movie. He's like, "This is your fucking wake up call, man. I am an FBI agent." Fuck, man, that movie's so awesome. I agree totally. Anyways, let's go ahead and get to the song itself. Just have to quickly mention that Anthony Paul Lopez also serves as the drummer for this song, and I imagine probably for a lot of the songs featured on this album. But let's go ahead and get to the track itself, which is, again, 595. We'll have the links available for you in the description of the episode, and also the video version of the episode on YouTube. And we'll try to include it at the end of this episode as an end card. I think there's a music video available, so I'm going to check that out, and that'll be the way in which I listen to this music video. So 595 from Violet Grohl, going in. All right, welcome back. That was Violet Grohl with her track called 595. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Fuck, man, this project just continues to fucking deliver on awesomeness. I feel like I got some Sam Raimi vibes from the music video. I don't know if anybody else got that, but I was kind of checking out some of the comments, and everybody's talking about what they hear in the project, and I think they're pretty on point. So they're saying Sheryl Crow, Nirvana, Foo Fighters, and, you know, some other stuff from the 90s, but this is, fuck, man, just the way that this project has been presented, both in terms of the music and the visuals, it's just been so top notch. And I want to give a shout out to everybody that worked on the song itself, in addition to everybody that's been working on the music video. And I don't want to go through the entire list, but, you know, there is one person to talk about, or actually, there's a few people to talk about, but the one I do want to concentrate on is Nikki Milan Houston, who's like the creative director for Violet Grohl herself, in addition to John Jadkowski, who was also serving as, producer for the music video itself. But Nikki Milan Houston is somebody that we talked about pretty extensively in our episode called The Violet Grohl Artist Recap, and why she is somebody of a great deal of importance and interest, or at least to me she is. So if you want to check that out and start looking into people that are surrounding Violet Grohl, you know, it does paint a better picture of why this thing is being as successful as it is. You know, this isn't a slight on Violet Grohl's part, because I'm sure she has a vision of what she wants this project to be. It just takes a village to make that to happen. So As far as additional thoughts to be shared about the song, man, the guitar work on this is so cool. I wish I knew who did what, who did like the more explosive guitar portions when the song's like bum 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 bum, and then there was more of the like southern rock type of style, or at least that's the impression that I get from like the rhythm guitar that was yeah, doing more of like a southern rock type of feel, which is probably why people were saying Sheryl Crow. But um, it's funny that like Anthony Paul Lopez is credited as producer, engineer, and mixing engineer. I'm sure for somebody like him, that is the drummer for this song and possibly for the whole album. It makes me laugh because I think, you know, with as much talent that Violet Grohl is surrounded by, I imagine Anthony Paul Lopez is like, no, I got to get the drums sounding the way that they should be on this. So I got to do the mixing, because I'm sure if he had anybody else working as the mixer, that it would eat at his soul if the drums could not sound as good as they should, along with the balancing of instruments and making sure there's clarity amongst all the instruments to be juggled and stuff. I think he did a fucking killer job. And what else is there to say about this music that we've heard over the last couple or perhaps handful of months? It's been a real treat. It's been something, a little bit of a spoiler to hear like 3 or 4 songs from the album. It just, I can't put that genie back in the bottle now. We've already heard probably what, like 1/4 of the album already, or a little over a quarter of the album. But anyways, that's besides the point. Anyways, let's end the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you all next time.